All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about artificial intelligence in 2026. And look, it's not just some tech buzzword anymore, right? It is actively reshaping our entire world, and it's doing it faster than we can blink. But here's the billion-dollar question. Is this a good thing, maybe the best thing that's ever happened to us, or are we flying a little too close to the sun? That's what we're going to unpack today.
So, on the one hand, you've got this incredible, almost utopian vision. The potential is just mind-blowing. We're talking about AI being the key that could finally unlock solutions to our oldest, most stubborn problems. You know, things like climate change, global poverty, diseases we've been fighting for centuries. It's a pretty amazing promise.
But, and this is a huge but, for every incredible promise, there's a pretty terrifying peril. This is the stuff that keeps people up at night. The idea of job displacement on a scale we've literally never seen before. And then there's that ultimate question, the big one. Are we, the creators, about to lose control of our own creation?
And this quote from the Infotech Research Group, man, it just hits the nail on the head. The tech is just moving way too fast. It's advancing quicker than we can figure out how to manage it. This isn't just a challenge for a few companies, it's a global issue. It's like we're building the car and writing the traffic laws while we're already doing 100 miles an hour down the highway. So how in the world do we bridge that gap?
Okay, so first, let's stick with the promise side for a minute. Why is all this happening so fast? Well, it's because we're seeing a massive shift in what AI can even do. This isn't just a small step forward, it's a giant leap.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We're moving from what you might call traditional AI, which is basically reactive. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer, to something totally different called Agentic AI. This new kind of AI is proactive. You don't just give it a command. You give it a goal, and it figures out the steps and takes action all on its own.
So, how does an agentic AI think? Well, it runs in this constant loop. First, it senses the world around it, gathering info. Then, it interprets what that info means. Based on that, it decides on a course of action, and then it actually acts. But here's the most important part. It learns from the result. It sees what worked, what didn't, and gets smarter for the next time around. It's really less of a tool and more like a partner that's constantly improving itself.
And look, this is not science fiction. This is happening right now, today. We are already seeing this kind of AI inside humanoid robots that are starting to show up in our industries. You've got Tesla's Optimus working in manufacturing, Digit from Agility Robotics handling packages in warehouses, and of course, Boston Dynamics' Atlas, which is tackling all sorts of industrial tasks. These aren't just cool videos online anymore. They're being put to work as we speak.
But with that kind of mind-bending progress comes some really serious risks. So now we've got to flip the coin and talk about the peril. And to really grasp how serious this is, we need to look at a powerful symbol that scientists use to measure human-made threats. This is the doomsday clock. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists has been maintaining it since 1947. And it's basically a metaphor for how close we are to a global catastrophe. Midnight on the clock, well, that's the end. And how close the hands are to 12 tells us how much danger we're in. Now take a look at this timeline. The absolute farthest we have ever been from disaster was 17 minutes to midnight, way back in 1991 when the Cold War ended. There was a lot of hope then, but ever since that trend has been moving in a very scary direction. And now, in 2026, the clock is the closest it has ever been to midnight.
85 seconds. That's it. 85 seconds to midnight. Just let that sink in for a moment. That is the official current assessment of the risk we face as a species. According to the scientists who manage this clock, humanity has never, ever been in a more dangerous situation than we are right now.
So what's pushing us so close to the edge? Well, the usual suspects are there, of course. The threat of nuclear war, which never really went away, and the escalating climate crisis. But now, for the first time in its entire history, the Bulletin has officially added a new threat to that list: artificial intelligence.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, to the central challenge of 2026, this incredible balancing act. How are we actually trying to steer this powerful technology to grab all of that promise while dodging all of that peril?
Well, one thing's for sure, adoption is happening at lightning speed. A recent survey shows that a clear majority of organizations, we're talking 58%, already have AI built right into their main company strategies. So this isn't some side project anymore. It's a core part of how business is done.
But here is the massive flashing red light. While 58% have a strategy to use AI, only 19% not even 1 in 5, have a real governance plan in place to control it. This is what the Infotech report calls the governance gap, and it's a huge chasm between using the tech and overseeing it. This is where the danger really lives.
So to try and close that gap, leaders are focusing on 5 key trends. First, they're trying to set up some basic ethical principles. Second, they're getting ready for that agentic AI we talked about. Third, they're finally making risk management mandatory, not just an afterthought. Fourth, they're wrestling with this idea of AI sovereignty as countries compete. And believe it or not, they're even reinventing how we write code.
But there's a huge roadblock in the way. Nearly 2/3 of organizations, that's 63%, say they have a major skills gap. They just don't have enough people who know how to manage AI responsibly or understand the data. So we've got the tech, but we're seriously short on the people trained to handle it.
And here's the craziest part. Despite all the risks, despite the lack of skilled people, the money is not slowing down. It's speeding up. Almost half of all IT leaders are planning to crank up their AI budgets by 20% or more. The train has definitely left the station, and it's just getting faster.
So, where did that leave us? In this wild race between promise and peril, what's the path forward? Well, the answer might actually have less to do with the machines and a lot more to do with us. This quote really just frames it perfectly. The future isn't about AI replacing us, it's about a brand new kind of partnership. Our job, the human job, is to set the direction, to provide the values, the ethics, the vision. The AI's job is to do the work, to execute, to optimize, and to perform, but always inside the guardrails that we create.
And that really leaves us with this final critical thought. AI agents are coming. They are going to be our new collaborators, our new colleagues. So the great question for all of us in 2026 isn't if we're going to work with them. That's already happening. The real question is, how are we going to teach them our values?